In this video, I'm going to look at commercial to residential development, and I'm going to explain why I think this is one of the most exciting kinds of projects you can get into right now. Hi, my name is Mark Lloyd. I'm co-founder of Property Master Academy, and I've been investing and developing since 2005. So first of all, why should you consider commercial to residential development? Well, in my opinion, it represents the very essence of what good property development should be about. That is, developing unwanted, low-value property into in-demand, higher-value property. There are lots of unused or underused commercial buildings out there, and a shortage of homes. In many ways, developing one into the other is a no-brainer. Also, redundant commercial property tends to be a lot cheaper than residential property. So there is a clear opportunity here to add value and make money in the process. Lastly, converting some commercial buildings into homes is easier now than it ever has been before. And this is really good news for developers. Now, the explanation is a little bit complicated, but it's all to do with changes to planning rules over the last few years, which mean that you don't need planning permission for some commercial conversions anymore. In 2020, the government amalgamated a number of different commercial planning use categories, which then came under what is called Class A, and put them into a new category, Class E. Now, Class E covers retail shops, banks, offices, cafes, restaurants, nurseries, health centres, gyms, and some light industrial buildings. Then in 2021, a new planning use class was created, Class MA. To cut a long story short, this means that some buildings in Class E can now be converted into what are known as Class C3 residential properties without needing full planning permission. These conversions can now be done as a permitted development. Can you see what a golden opportunity this is for property developers? It means that you can do some commercial to residential developments without the expense and time that a full planning application takes. And that makes everything quicker, easier, cheaper, and so potentially more profitable. Sounds good, doesn't it? Now, like most good ideas, it's not quite that simple. There are a few conditions you need to abide by. Briefly, these are here. 1. The property must have been empty for at least 3 months. 2. The property must have been in commercial use for at least 2 years before that. 3. The maximum amount of floor space you can convert must be no more than 1,500 square metres. Now, to put that into context, the average house size is about 90 square metres, so it offers you a decent amount of space to work with. And fourthly, you'll need to apply to the local authority for what is known as prior approval first. Now, this isn't the same as applying for full planning permission, by the way. It's quicker and it's cheaper. You also need to know about Article 4 directions. Now, an Article 4 direction allows the local council to remove permitted development rights and make you apply for full planning permission instead. Now, very few local councils have brought in Article 4 directions to control commercial conversions. This is only a brief guide, I should say, and I strongly recommend that you check all the fine details of this kind of permitted development and if there are any Article 4 directions with the local council before you even consider buying a building. But I think you can see that this is much simpler than applying for full planning permission. And by the way, I'm not saying you should ignore opportunities where you have to apply for full planning permission. There can still be some great opportunities outside the permitted development situation. But clearly, if you can leapfrog the need to get planning permission, it makes things a lot easier. So moving on, here are a few more tips on successfully converting commercial buildings. What kind of commercial buildings can you convert? Well, the sky is pretty much the limit here. You might convert a shop, a pub, a bank, a care home, a hotel, a school, an office, a warehouse, or even a factory, or something unique like a water tower or a lighthouse. Note that not all of these, including pubs, can be converted under permitted development. I recommend you think about practicality here, at least when you first start. Something like a shop is going to be much easier to convert into a house than an old windmill, for example. Grand designs type projects may look fun, but they are harder, more expensive and much more risky, and not necessarily any more profitable. Also think about the end product, your exit route, whether you are planning to sell on or create a rental investment. For example, it's going to be a lot easier and quicker to sell or rent 2 flats above a shop than 20 flats in a converted warehouse. As with any property development, location is as important as ever too. Not all commercial buildings are in places where people want to live, so choose carefully. Try and find an area that is transitioning from commercial to residential. Where several commercial properties have been or are being converted into homes. A commercial property that is sandwiched between residential buildings, or at least next to an existing residential building, is ideal. Design and construction standards are also important. Just because you can do some of these projects without planning permission doesn't mean they don't have to comply with building standards and other regulations. Not all commercial buildings necessarily lend themselves to be converted into living accommodation. Rooms in homes must meet certain minimum size requirements and have access to natural light, for example. Now, this is part of the permitted development conditions if you are using that route too. So think about if the building will work as a house or flat from the outset. Unless your project is very simple, you will need an architect to advise you. So what about finance for this type of project? Well, it can be more difficult to get finance to buy and develop a commercial building than to, say, redevelop a house. And it may cost more in terms of the costs and interest rate you have to pay. So you need to take expert financial advice on the best way of doing this. Now, we can, of course, help with lending through our crowdfunding platform. So drop me an email or message below this video to find out more. Another interesting thing is this, however. Once you have converted a commercial building to a residential one, it will usually be much easier and probably cheaper to finance it. And it should, of course, be worth a lot, much more. So that can lead to another good opportunity, in this case, to do a buy, refurbish and refinance project. You can then release some of the equity you have created for your next property project. I hope that's given you some idea of how commercial to residential development works. And by the way, in our next development mentorship, which starts in January, we will cover this in more detail and much more about how to succeed in property development. One last thing, if the idea of doing a commercial to residential conversion interests you, please take a look at our other videos which will help you out. We have a very useful video about finding development sites. This will show you how to find the best commercial sites for a development, including sites that are not even up for sale. Converting a commercial building into an HMO or shared house can be another good opportunity to consider, and we have another video that explains exactly how that works as well. Our development mentorship program will take you through all the steps to find, fund, build and exit. And our next program starts in January. So for more details, email me or message below. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please don't forget to hit that like button so others just like you will get to see this video, and also click the subscribe button so you get notified of new videos as they are posted. Also appearing on your screen right now are more videos that will help you with your property business. Thanks for listening.